In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Now we go to page 231 and the discussion called 6.6, hypotheses of initial second language state. First of all, this is the plural form. Hypothesis is singular. Hypotheses, as it is here, is the plural. What is the difference? Hypothesis is with is at the end. Hypotheses is the plural with es at the end. So hypotheses means all types of hypotheses, okay? Not singular, plural. Hypothesis of initial second language state. We want to see what is at the beginning of second language acquisition, okay? So I'm going to discuss these things. Line 1 says, in the 1980s, the role of UG in L2 learning was expressed as a metaphor of access. A metaphor of access to UG. A metaphor of access to UG. Okay? Cook 1985 put it as a choice between three possibilities. Okay, direct access, indirect access, and no access at all. Let us see. If we say direct access to UG, it means that when we want to learn a second language, we have direct access to our UG. When we say it is indirect access, it means that the access to UG is through, in fact, your first language. Okay, you actually have something like your first language, you use it, and again you use your UG. You do two things at the same time, as the second model says. Type 3 says no access at all. No access at all. There is no access to UG at all for your second language. We call it no access hypothesis. No access hypothesis. If you actually go to page 232, we actually see these types of, in fact, initial states hypotheses. Well, there is also those three types of, in fact, possibilities is what we see as these four possibilities on page 232. Okay, A, B, C, D. But because everything is repeated, below, we are going to work on these things below. Number 1 says that 1 on page 232 says the second language learner has no universal grammar to build on. Okay? If you are learning English, you are not using your UG. You have used your UG for your Arabic, not for your English, according to this theory. Let us see. If you actually look at figure 6.5, you can easily understand that L2 grammar to the right actually has got something to the left, L1 grammar. And inside it, close related to it, is the UG. So in it, the L2 initial state is like this. So there is L2 grammar to the right. But actually, because there is no UG, the arrow does not come from L1 to L2, does not go from L1 to L2, does not go from UG to L2. What is it? Because UG is not available. Okay? You only use your L1 grammar. Okay? This is what appears here for 6.5. Let us see. Line 1 says UG in some way has been used up in L2 acquisition. It's like a car. When the car goes without fuel, it does not run. Okay? So you cannot run your second language like your L1. Why? Because for your first language, you use something like your UG. But what about your L2? According to this theory, there is no UG for the second language. They call it no UG hypothesis. Okay? So UG has been used up in the process of L1 acquisition. Okay? So how do you learn it? You go to learn your second language through other general learning processes. Okay? You are not using your UG. This is number one. Below page 232, there are examples of, in fact, two guys working on this area in 1986. Klashen and Musken actually said that there's something not like no UG hypothesis. Okay? So going to page 233, we say that there are arguments for this type of, in fact, in favor of this type of hypothesis, saying that there is no UG at all for the second language. UG is only for your first language. Let's see. Number one, the knowledge of the L2 is not so complete as that of the first monolinguals. Okay, it's like this. The knowledge of the L2 is not so complete as that of the first in monolinguals. So monolinguals are fluent. Second, in fact, the second language learners are not that fluent. So why? Because there is no UG, they say. Number two, some L2s are more difficult to learn than others. Some people, for example, say Arabic is difficult. Some people say Iranian, Parsi is difficult. Some others continue to say other languages are again difficult. So, because they say that's because there is no UG. Number three, it says on page 233, the L2 gets fossilized rather than processing inevitably to full native competence. Okay? There's fossilization. There's fossilization for the L2. There is no fossilization for L1. And, well, for example, if there is something that sometimes for the pronunciation of one word, you have one mistake, okay, one error or a mistake, and then you repeat that type of mistake. For example, suppose that I say pen as pain, okay, or pencil, I say pencil, okay. So suppose I say pencil as pencil. Instead of saying pencil, I say pencil, okay. It is fossilized. This mistake, this error is fossilized, okay. So it's like this. So fossilization is like this, that you have got something like, as I told you, one mistake is repeatedly used for the second language. Number four, the L2 learners vary in ways that L1 learners do not. Okay? There are various L2 learners in your classroom. Okay, there are almost 53 students, Iraqi students in my class. Okay, all these 53 students now, okay, are different. With their first language, no, with their second language. All know Arabic for their first language. But when it comes to their English, one is so fluent, one is so poor, one has got strong Arabic accent, another one has got almost no accent. There are problems with grammar. You don't have so many pieces of vocabulary. Okay, so what does it mean? The field of second language acquisition is quite different from one person to another person. okay, both in the process of depth and in the process of breadth. Depth and breadth. Okay, so this is the end of, in fact, 661, and let us say no UG hypothesis. Okay, no universal grammar to build on. Okay, thank you very much.